Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another DOKURO reaction. Today we have yet another one requested by Quirky Person from the They Know Who They Are album, and this one is The Momentary Highs, The Unfathomable Lows. This is apparently a reprise. I'm not entirely sure what that would mean since this is apparently the first song on the album, so maybe it's kind of just like a retackling of a song they had released as a solo well before this album. I could totally understand that, but it's kind of weird calling it a reprise. Either way, I was given the brief context of it being the first song on the album, which they said they were going to request as many of the songs as they could, if not the whole album, so look forward to those coming in the future, but also that I should read the descriptions because it gives extra details, but I don't want to do that until after I listen to it and hear it out and kind of form my own thoughts. Then I'll read the description before we get into me talking about it after the reaction, but either way, that's a lot of yapping. Without further ado, let's go! There's that face again.
I've reached the point of living.
Oh.
Where my music
subtitles on.
Noise.
I don't need those for these videos.
It may not be all I'm giving, but it seems I have no choice. Ooh. I'm too tired to contain it from the winding path ahead.
This voice sounds familiar.
Too tired to run from the existential dread.
It's probably a synthetic voice. Probably heard it in other songs.
Another year is passing.
I know well that DM is very good at tuning their vocals. So.
Spending minutes in a mirror, looking at a broken face, growing older as I'm asking when the pain will leave my head, unable to hide.
I really like the vocoder effect on this. Very similar to the Keep Walking sound, which makes sense.
Insanity consuming that which I have come to be, so harshly unassuming of the fate bestowed to me, flashing wildly in the darkness, in a silence cold and dead, too frightened to scream.
So this album definitely has a theme. I mean, they said it right there. Existential dread is pretty common. Ooh, I can't see the lyrics anymore. I've got to listen now. Ooh. There's existential dread. That's really neat. Having the whole song just start swarming around the vocals, like drowning in it.
The dread set in as I'm starting to embrace it. The recovery begins with the stories I've encountered and the paths I've yet to tread. There's no turning back.
Ooh, is that where they're ending it? With the lyrics? We at the end now? We are. Oh, it's Eleanor Forte! That's why it sounded familiar. Okay, oh, it's the AI version. All right, I've heard a lot of Eleanor Forte through people like EpoTSK, so that totally tracks, but I believe that Epo uses the standard version, not the AI version, so it's got a little bit of a tone difference. That aside, though, before I open up the description and try to figure stuff out here, this song definitely has very familiar points in it, where... True. Always still working on it, whether you're talking about the album or not. Anyway, this has that consistency in the story with the other songs I've heard from this album. That existential dread is just straight up just spelling it out, like right at the start. If this is the first song in the album, they're just like, here's what the album's about. And that's really intriguing. So trying to align it with the other things I've learned from the other songs, this one definitely has that same feeling, like they're struggling through life, like something has been a part of their life that they don't feel like they've been understood about. And I feel like a lot of us can figure that out, right? Like a lot of us have that same thing, whether it's, you know, the same source or not. A lot of us have had moments or situations where we feel like we're not being heard or understood. And I feel like that's what most of this album probably is. And I like that a song and an album is just being so upfront about that. I love that DOKURO is being forward with that message, because it's so rare for people to be blunt about it instead of trying to be too artistic about it. This definitely still has its artistic merit, like I was saying with some of how the production was going, which I'll get into more on, but it's just how they were handling it was very mature and very blunt. And I love that because it's just so uncommon to see. But anyway, I'll read the description real quick and then I'll get back to you with like the additional thoughts and try to compare and contrast as we go. All right, so I read the description and I was mostly right, I think. The general feeling of being ignored or not seen or heard or understood is totally on track with the description, talking about basically undiagnosed autism, like not understanding where that line is. A lot of people around you feeling like you're being used is said in the description exactly. It's like, I personally do not have a diagnosis of autism, but it's one of those things where even my psychiatrists through the years have been like, yeah, you do. Like, you're missing the piece of paper, and that's exclusively because if I want to get tested for it, the nearest place is like 2 hours drive away, and nobody wants me to do that, and I don't want to do that. So we're all in understanding that I'm autistic. I mean, I already knew I had ADHD. That's been confirmed. I was tested for that back in like middle school, so that's confirmed. I've got PTSD and some other related issues, and yeah, I get this, and that's probably why I resonate so heavily with the other songs in this album, and now this one as well. Just that sense of self being lost, that feeling like you're looking at somebody in the mirror who's not you, and they feel different constantly. And as you grow older and as you start to mature into yourself, that feels so tragically slow. It is a snail's pace compared to other people around me. Every single friend I have who's neurotypical, I'm just like, how are you functioning in society this normally? I'm making YouTube videos now. I'm doing this as a job because I don't fit in normal society. I was cleaning wheelchairs at a place until I found this as a thing I can do. I can talk about my feelings and my interpretations of music, something I've always loved to do, but nobody's ever appreciated until the YouTube community that I have now thankfully found me and has gifted me the ability to make this basically my job. This is my career right now. I don't have another job. YouTube is it. And I don't make a bunch, you know, like I don't make a lot of money. I make enough to pay my rent to my sister who I live with in her basement. And that's another support factor I have here. I was kind of misunderstood growing up. Obviously now I am in a decent relationship with my parents. We don't have that many problems between us. Obviously there's going to be a few headbutting moments throughout the years, but they didn't get it either. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know who I was. They didn't know what to expect out of it. They didn't understand that. I was the youngest boy to two older sisters. That's a completely different dynamic when it comes to raising children to boot. Like, not starting with the mental issues, like there's so many other problems going on, and I don't fault them for that. In hindsight, I understand exactly why they made certain decisions and why things were confusing, and a lot of people in my school definitely bullied me for this shit, and that left a lot of scars as well, but I don't harbor any ill will towards any of them anymore because I'm almost 30. I've had my time to process a lot of this, but I also don't forget any of it, and that's the razor's edge of this. That's the double-edged sword, is that when you're living through this sort of scenario, you don't get the option to remember or forget at will. Basically, you remember weird parts of your childhood that most people forgot decades ago, and you don't. You remember the fine details of random things. They stick in your brain like super glue, and no matter what you do, you'll never entirely forget. So I resonate heavily with this song, and understanding what this album is going into now, especially coming from that perspective, I'm a lot closer than I knew. I didn't know if it was just a sense of like depressiveness and just not understanding who they were and trying to figure that out, which again, we can all relate to, but there is an entirely deeper level to my understanding of this, knowing now that it's an autistic thing and being a part of that community and understanding it, and I feel a kinship with this because of that. And it's really cool to hear that put into song, because that's something I've always wished I could do, and I've never really been able to figure out. So I've never made any music that reflects on it because I don't know exactly how that would sound. I don't put that into a musical context in my mind, and DOKURO did an amazing job at doing that. That essence, like I was talking about the production in the middle there, while I can like mentally understand these and I get the concepts and I'm able to share those with you and kind of put that into words for those who don't understand it as much. That's my gift on the autistic side, I suppose. That's one of those things that we have, is just everybody with autism has a thing, a quirk, something that they can do that other people can't. Mine is media literacy. For some reason, I've always been decent at it. But point being, at that spot where like the music started to rush in around you, it felt like you were sinking into it. And it did come back out, and that was kind of the next section of the lyrics where like things got less fuzzy again. And coming out of that process and trying to figure out what's going to happen next, it's a little bit more clear. But in those moments where you're like wallowing in that shit and you are sinking deeper and deeper and things get more confusing, that's what overstimulation feels like. You know, like that's what it's too much sound happening around you. There's too many people talking. There's too many lights. Shit like that is maddening to me. And I know it's got to be maddening to DOKURO too. Again, it's a spectrum situation, so we all have different levels of it, and it can trigger you in different ways at different times. It's a hell to live in at times, but we do our best to live with it, and that sucks even more when people around you aren't listening to those issues and aren't trying to understand it. And now we are in a different era where things like that are seen in a different light. But when like I was born in 96, I was raised in the early 2000s, they didn't know what the hell they were talking about when it came to autism for a lot of it. And they didn't even think that was a thing. You know, like they considered having me tested back then, but no things were found different. It's like, really? Now me, that guy, I'm not different? Like, are you kidding me? Like in hindsight, whoever the hell was thinking about testing me and like going, oh, it doesn't look like he does, was an idiot, you know? Like, of course, but that's because they didn't know better either. And again, I'm aware of those differences now, and the way that the scientific community, even the psychological community, has motioned towards improving those fields, and I respect that for what it's worth. I feel like everyone these days has something going on. We all have something, but things like this are being diagnosed more commonly because people are starting to understand what they are and realizing it's more the norm than they expected. So that's confusing to a lot of people who are afraid of change, and that gets into a whole different argument. But there is just so much to this song that I never anticipated being able to reflect on. The composition, as per usual with this one, was beautiful. I loved everything about how he, like, again, kind of wrapped your head in it. It started more straightforward and clear. The chords were a little bit less distorted, and then he cranked it up as the song went on, and it got harder to understand before that last line where it's like it didn't rhyme with anything, and it was just a statement. And that's really like the resolve of that is very impressive. That's why, and what I mean when I don't know how to like personify that in music, and DM does. That's exactly what it feels like. A lot of times you don't follow the standard. You don't want to rhyme. You don't have to. Sometimes you just need to say what's on your mind and leave it at that. It doesn't need to be wrapped up or perfect, and the song can leave itself on a cliffhanger. That adds a little bit of tension, because that's what living with these sorts of challenges feels like. It feels less than normal, even though we're so conditioned to expect things like rhymes to end with a rhyme. And when it doesn't, people are confused. And you're sitting there going, why? That's not correct. And it's like, who the hell are you to say it's not? Let me say something instead of having to make a big production out of it. Let me make a statement that feels strong and has that strength behind it. And it's super impressive to me that DM Dokuro is doing that. And even before this, I was talking about how I was kind of understanding the feeling. And while I'll never know what DM Dokuro has gone through in their own personal life, I'm sure it's much deeper than my own. I have my own struggles. Like I said, we all did. We've all been through stuff. But at the same time, you'll never know exactly what that person has ever gone through. And acting like you do is disingenuous. Like, you don't need to act like you know. You just need to be there to listen sometimes. Having somebody trustworthy that you can talk to, no matter what the subject is an invaluable resource when you have a situation like this going on in your mind where you feel like nobody understands you. Somebody who you can trust wholeheartedly is sometimes rare, and that's unfortunate. I got lucky. My sister is one of those people for me, and I don't have many. I would say I have 2 or 3 people in my entire life that I could trust with basically anything and not expect some sort of judgment as a repercussion for it. So there's a lot going on with this song, and now I have a whole new respect and appreciation for this album going forward as I listen to more. So I guess that's about all I gotta say. I know I've been yapping on this forever, but hopefully it wasn't that boring, and hopefully you found some of this insight interesting, and hopefully it added some new context for you. But if you did enjoy it and you want me to get to something else from DM Dokuro, first of all, Quirky Person said they're going to be getting to a lot, so maybe you don't have to request any, but if you want to, drop them in the comments below, and I will do my best as always. Or if you want to guarantee something, much like Quirky Person did for this one, you can go to my Patreon, you can go to my YouTube memberships, you can request something there. There's a tier that will force me to listen to whatever you want. It doesn't matter who it's by, what it's from, if it's good or bad. None of that matters. That's why it's a guaranteed request. But if you don't want to do any of that, and maybe you just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that. And I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!